All right, what's up, everyone? It's another episode of the Outdoorsman Oath. Today we have Gila Monsters Outdoors, and we're going to chat with them, learn about them, and have some good conversations. So if you guys want to start, just tell us a little bit about yourselves and where you're from, what got you into hunting, and we'll go from there.
What's up, guys? My name's Gavin. I've been hunting since I was about 8 years old. Grew up here in southern New Mexico and did a lot of hunting with my dad when I was a kid and had a good time doing that. Kind of lost a little bit when I was in high school playing sports and then the first couple of years of college. And then got back into it, started hunting again. And Nick and I have been friends since middle school. And I reached out to him one day and said, "Hey, you want to start filming hunts with me?" And so we started doing a little bit of that. And we've been doing that for about 4 years now. Most of it's our hunts that we're doing, but we've been kind of doing my family's, other family members, family friends, and we've just been rolling with stuff like that.
That's awesome. How about you, Nick?
Yeah, no, I'm Nick. I'm part of Gila Monster Outdoors with Gavin, and yeah, that's kind of what we do. We film hunts. So, child, I've known him since middle school. Played sports with him, things like that. Um, I think the one thing that got me into hunting, I guess, too, would just I don't know, like before it was like road hunting and like hunting with family or whatever, I guess, and just going with them, and then sports kind of took a long part of that, high school to college kind of area of my life where I wasn't hunting as much. And then whenever Gavin kind of talked to me, we went on one hunt in November in the Gila, and that's a place in New Mexico, and we had no idea what we were doing, and we just spent like 2 days hunting deer, and then it kind of just switched to like, holy crap, like that was fun. And then we started getting in backpacking and other things like that. And then one day, I think it was my junior year of college or senior year of college, we were just like, hey, we should like film hunts or something. And we were just kind of joking, but we are like getting into it at the same time. So now it's been 2.5, 3 years of doing it, and we've had, we just kind of run with it.
Awesome. So that's where y'all got your name. Correct me if I'm wrong. Gila is a national forest.
Yeah,
Yes.
so the Gila's the national forest here in New Mexico. And that's actually a really funny story. We brainstormed for, I think, 2 or 3 months. We had no idea what we wanted to name ourselves. And we kept shooting names back and forth. And the main place that we really hunted was the Gila. And the biggest thing that there is in the Gila is elk. That's where everyone goes to hunt elk here in New Mexico. I mean, it's known all around the United States. And so we were like, yeah, the Gila monster, the elk, that's what it is, the monster of the Gila. So we kind of threw that together, and that's where it all came to be.
That's badass. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of like cook hunt fish for us. We're like, well, we all like cooking and hunting and fishing, so fuck it, let's just throw it in one. And
Yeah,
yours
it's
is a little
definitely
bit more
true.
creative than ours, so
Well, yeah, whenever you throw, just random stuff together, it usually works out, and that's kind of what we're doing. So I laughed because the Gila monster is a lizard too, so I was like, everyone's gonna think we're a dang lizard.
I'll be honest. I thought that at first, and then I
Yeah,
saw the bio. It said DIY New Mexico hunters. So I was like,
yeah,
okay, national forest.
yeah. But no, that's kind of who we are and what we do, and I think we're gonna really get into a transition focus here in 2024 to filming a little bit more hunts and maybe even reaching out to people to film their hunts kind of deal and just kind of branching out other than just filming our own stuff. If that kind of
Oh,
that's kind of
you
the
guys,
goal.
sorry. You guys planning on doing any out of state hunts coming up, or you staying in New Mexico for now?
Yeah, that's kind of the big thing we've been moving towards. I know Nick's been putting some points in out of state. I'm going to start doing it this year. And then I'm planning on hopefully putting in for Idaho, mainly just for elk next year. And then I know you and I talked. I mean, South Dakota mule deer, that would be a dream. I would be 100% on board with doing something like that. I mean, chasing muleys for me is awesome, but Nick here's the big muley guy at Gila Monster Outdoors, that's for sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
definitely have them out here. It's rough terrain. Have you all heard of the Badlands?
Yeah.
I have it.
Okay, so Badlands, just kind of put it in perspective, like think of just flat prairie, right? And then all of a sudden you hit this. It looks like you just landed in Mars. Like it's these jagged rocks and it's just dead in there. But that's pretty much how it is out here. I know where we chase muleys, it's that kind of terrain, so it's definitely pretty interesting. But they're out here. I wish I got my Euro back. It was that muley I shot on opening day, but yeah,
I
we've
mean,
been
that's impressive.
having
It
fun.
sounds like it's pretty similar to what we do here. I mean, some of the desert portions of New Mexico where we're muley hunting, I mean, there's volcanic rock, and it's pretty similar to what you're talking. You got cactus and you got a lot of grass and mesquites out there, but I mean, the terrain's very similar. The only time it really changes is like up in the Gila, you get into that mountainous stuff, but a lot of the mule deer hunting we've been doing has been in the desert portions of New Mexico, so it's probably very similar to what you guys are doing out there.
That's awesome. Now, do y'all have Coos deer in New Mexico, or is that more like a Arizona thing?
Yeah, Nick, go ahead and tell them about our cruise deer.
Yeah, no, we got some coos deer. We actually have a hunt this January. Me and Gavin drew a tag together. Same hunt, same time. Archery coos deer here in New Mexico in January. So we're kind of getting excited for that because it's going to be here before we know it. We actually might go scout this weekend. So I think we're only going to make one scouting trip. We're either going to go scout Barbary sheep this weekend or coos deer, and I'm kind of trying to bait him to go coos deer hunting or scouting, just because deer are just better animals. I don't know.
Yeah. Don't they call them ghosts of the desert or something? Aren't they like hard to find?
Yeah,
I mean, if
they're
you think mule deer are hard to find, coos deer's way worse. I mean, they're small, and believe it or not, we were hunting elk in the Gila this year, and there's actually coos deer up in the Gila National Forest.
Oh, really?
And the first one I'd ever seen, it's pretty much like a German Shepherd sized deer. I mean, yeah, Nick's got a shed right there.
yeah,
Oh, dang.
So they're small. I mean, they're body wise, they're really small. They're gray, and a good sized coos deer is going to be in the 100-inch range. I mean,
yeah.
they are very very small animals, but they're cool to see. I mean, you're hunting up there in the Gila National Forest in September. It's really green. And those things just stick out like a sore thumb when they're walking. They almost look golden that time of year. But you transition over to January, you're hunting when everything's dead. It's real yellow and gray in the desert, and they can just be very difficult to find.
That's wild. That's how like muleys are out here because it. I'll be honest, it doesn't get green out here. Maybe like a couple of weeks in the spring, and then it's just dry and dead. So I was sitting up there behind glass, and we're just waiting for a deer to flicker or turn of a head, and it's pretty rough sometimes.
Yeah, that's honestly, it's the same exact way here. The only difference is like our rut in the desert portions is usually in January. So you'll see a lot of movement then. I mean, they're mobile, they're moving from herds to herds. I mean, bucks are not bedding down. Usually, if they do, it's for a short period of time. So that's why me and Nick usually put in for those January hunts. But you go hunt mule deer in November in the mountains, then you're going to catch the rut there. So it's just depending on when you're wanting to hunt the rut, usually around this time.
That's pretty sweet. So are y'all rifle hunters or more archery based?
I I think for the most part, for me it's kind of split. I shot a whitetail with a rifle. Um, Barbary with rifle. I think Gavin took a Barbary sheep with a rifle, but predominantly we put in for archery. Um, I, I'm a big I don't know. I really like spawn stock and just really getting on the animal level, and so that just that's archery, and that's the
Yeah,
definition of archery. So New Mexico has really good opportunities for archery hunts. So I think maximizing like as many hunts as we can go on a year, archery hunting is probably the best way to do it.
I said you get into it, like where you're taking off your boots and stalking in socks, stepping on cactus and shit.
I'm a little bit more of a ninja. Gavin, on the other hand, he's 6'4", 230 pounds. He could have been a linebacker, and he probably needs to take his boots off. But for me, I haven't needed to do that yet.
I don't know. I'm always too scared because I've sat on cactus and stuff before. I'm like,
Yeah.
screw that. I don't want to get one in my foot.
Oh, they're everywhere here. We were hunting Barbary sheep in February this year, and I got another one of our guys from Gila Monster Outdoors on a Barbary sheep, and so I got him set up, and I laid down and put the glass up, and I looked down underneath me. It felt like something was biting me in the leg, and I laid right into a cactus patch. So it's pretty much unavoidable everywhere you go. But taking the boots off around here, I mean, especially for like mule deer hunting and any desert hunting in general, I mean, it's something that is a good idea. My cousin killed a nice mule deer one year, and I think he stalked the buck 200 yards without his boots on and some jagged rocks. And he ended up getting a 180-inch mule deer in the desert, which is pretty impressive. So it's not uncommon.
God, this sounds like a trooper. I couldn't. That
Yeah.
sounds rough.
You got to kind of
Have
put
you?
your eggs in one basket if you take your boots off. And so for me, I really,
I
I'll
think they
chase the
make.
deer down.
Yeah, I think they make like these booty things that you like put on your feet, like you slip your boots off and they're like padded on the bottom. I thought about getting me some for next year for archery hunting, but I don't know if I have to do more research because they seem kind of like snake oil in a way to me.
Yeah, I've seen them. I haven't ever used them, so I couldn't tell you. But one thing that I've been doing this year is getting a new pair of pants with some knee pads in them for like coos deer hunt. Because last year when I was hunting mule deer, kind of in the same area, I came home and I got a nice buck that year or last year. But I like took my pants off, get in the shower, been hunting, you stink, you're bloody or whatever. And I'm like, gosh dang, what's wrong with my knees? And they're just shredded because of how much crawling we had to do out there. And it's like small, jagged rocks. And so my knees were shredded, though. They're like pretty much bleeding.
That's wild. Yeah, knee
Yeah.
pads are definitely a must. I learned that last year because I was rocking Cabela's stuff, that redhead from Cabela's,
Mm-hmm.
and then I was tired of just crawling through the prairie and cactus in the knees, so I went out and bought some kuyus with the knee pads in them, and
Yeah.
those pro pants are pretty slick.
I mean, it's good gear. That's pretty much what we run. We run a lot of Kuyu stuff. Um, Stone Glacier is something we've kind of gotten into jacket wise. I mean, we look at everything. We try to find the best gear from every brand. We're not really set on anybody. But yeah, I mean, Kuyu's been solid for us. We've been running it for about 3 years now. Their pants, their shirts. I mean, it's all awesome stuff. You can't go wrong with it. But I mean, you get up to where you're chasing animals 10 to 14 days, whether it's an elk hunt or a September archery muley hunt. I mean, when you're out there that long, you really need to have some gear that you can trust.
That's for sure. So, would you say elk in general is your guys' favorite species to go after?
Yeah, I mean, elk is a lot of fun. I mean, I love chasing elk. We've had a lot of success in the past 3 years. And I mean, you get on a bugling elk, it's pretty hard to beat that. But as far as my favorite hunt goes, I think New Mexico oryx is probably number one. That is one of the most unique hunts that we have in North America. And being able to chase them on public land is just a blessing. I mean, you're hunting antelope and it's the same style of hunt. I mean, you're in flat land. Sometimes you have those rolling hills, but I mean, the oryx itself is pretty close to the size of a cow elk.
Oh,
So it's a
geez.
good sized animal. And when you get to chase those through the flat lands of the desert, I mean, it's awesome. And when they take off running, it's just so majestic. It's neat.
That's pretty cool. I think you're the first person, y'all are the first people I've talked to that have mentioned RX. I've never met anyone that has, so that's pretty sweet.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we've had some success. I mean, Nick's killed a few oryx, and then I've killed three. I actually got one last year. And if you're gonna put in for one hunt in New Mexico, that's got to be the one because there's nothing like it.
Yeah. There's I guess, New Mexico going into draws and stuff and like how the state runs, I guess, on out of state or in state kind of deal. But it's all I like New Mexico. It's random draw, really no preference points or anything. There is a couple different pools. Obviously, there's going to be a resident pool, a non-resident, and then a guided pool or outfitters pool. But the oryx hunting, I mean, if you look at some of the non-resident, draw odds, or even just some of the guided pool draws, you could easily come to New Mexico out of state, try to draw a hunt, in your first 3 or 4 years putting in, and then maybe you can get lucky your first one or two, but you can't miss the opportunity. It's like Gavin said, you're antelope hunting, but they're bigger, and there's no really other place in the country. I mean, Texas has oryx, but free range oryx in New Mexico, yeah, definitely pretty fun.
That's pretty sweet. So they like from overseas, and however long ago they got let loose or something, and they just started booming.
So like back in the 70s, they were looking for an animal to bring over to New Mexico. And Go Hunt actually has a really interesting podcast on this. So does Meat Eater. They have some really cool information on them. But the original animal that they wanted to bring over was the kudu. But the problem with the kudu is that it carried a disease that was going to affect, the other animals, the native animals in New Mexico. And so they went towards the Gemsbach. And so they penned them up on the White Sands Missile Range. And we're going to make it just exclusive to where you hunted on the White Sands Missile Range. But, these animals, they're going to go where they want to go. And so they started crossing over fences. And that's where it goes to where Nick was saying. You have your White Sands, very high, well, not high, but low draw odds, but very good hunts. And then you have your statewide off-range hunts. And the difference between the two is, so for the on-range, it's like only a few days. And you have to work with the missile range on when the dates are going to be open, when they're not doing testing. Whereas the statewide off-range hunts, they're month-long hunts. And so you have the entire month, 10 months out of the year, where you can chase these animals. So schedule-wise, it works out awesome. You have time to scout, and you can move from any position in the state. But they have done so well. They've been increasing the tag numbers for all the hunts. I mean, anywhere you go in southern New Mexico, you're going to see oryx. If you're in the desert, you're going to see them. Pretty much anywhere south of, I would say, Las Lunas, New Mexico, east from I-10, you're going to see oryx. I mean, they're everywhere.
Yeah. They've done pretty good here in New Mexico. New Mexico is pretty interesting, and I don't know if you know all the big game species, but we even have the ibex down here. It's actually like 45 minutes from my house. We can go hunt free-range ibex. Obviously, hard to draw a tag, but that's something we can do. And lately, I've heard the population's kind of doing rough, so I don't know if I'll actually put in for next year. I kind of want the population to get back where it needs to be.
That's understandable. We all have a bear down in New Mexico.
Yeah.
We have a lot of bear in New Mexico. We actually had probably 3 or 4 close encounters with bears this year. Sadly, they had some cubs with them, so we couldn't, fill tags. But one of our guys got a bear last year. I mean, in the past 3 years, I've probably had 20 close bear encounters, and they're good sized. I mean, really big black bears. We've seen some cinnamon bears. I mean, we got a lot of Boone and Crockett bears around here, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think New Mexico would have. I don't know if it's just in my head. I wouldn't think of New Mexico as like a good bear state.
Yeah, Gavin's actually got this funny video. He does a lot of crop like inspections stuff for Helena, and that's who he works for. That's who Gavin works for. Anyway, he sends me this video, and it's in a corn pivot, and then there's this bear chewing on a tractor, and the tractor's operating trying to harvest corn, and the bear's like, "No, this is my field."
And the funny thing about this is this video was taken like 5 miles north of the Mexico border. So we have bears all the way down to Mexico over here, and it's in the desert portions of the United States. But this is a huge bear, and they're trying to move this bear with the header of the corn harvester, and he just wasn't having it. He just wanted to eat his corn.
So, like, what do they eat? Like, because I know up north and stuff, they munch on berries. Is there a lot of berries in New Mexico that they feast on? Or like, what's, I guess, their crop of choice?
There's a lot of berries. I mean, you go through the Gila National Forest and you get back there a little bit, you'll find some berries. There's actually some places with walnuts. There's wild walnut trees here in New Mexico. They're going to be munching on acorns, lots of grass. I mean, we've walked over a lot of bear scat where there's a lot of grass. And then obviously when they can get their hands on some animals, of course, they're going to go
Yeah,
after
some
that
dead
too.
carcasses or yeah. I I don't know. I think the bears. It's funny. Me and Gavin will be hunting, and there'd be rocks flipped too. So probably bugs and other things like that too, just insects.
So, have you guys gotten charged?
No, no, we
I
haven't
have.
got charged.
We were hunting elk last year and I was cow calling at a bull and I started hearing some branches break and leaves rustling. And so I told my dad, who had a tag, I was like, well, get ready. There's a bull coming in. And I had a bear run about 10 yards away from me, look at me, and stand up. And so my dad's yelling at me, hey, pull your pistol, pull your pistol. But me, being a guy with a camera, I decided to pull my camera out and start chasing after the bear. So luckily, he didn't come after me. And then a year before that, my uncle was hunting in the same unit, and we were going back to a blind that I had made for the archery hunt. And we walked up on some bears sitting in the blind, and they were tearing it up, and they saw us and took off running. And then they walked up the other ridge and started rolling rocks down at us while we were on the other side.
That's wild.
So yeah, here, I mean, I haven't really heard of anyone having very bad issues with bear charging you, but I mean, they will get a little defensive, but I don't think to the point where they would attack you.
Okay. I know that's something that's like an unlocked fear inside of me because we're going this spring. We're going out to Western Wyoming for a over-the-counter black bear hunt, and my buddy he went out there last year and he went into a few grizz. So I was like, for a brown bear, I was like, I don't know, I don't want to get attacked or get
Yeah, so
shaped.
there I
So
would definitely carry.
yeah, he said he was walking through thick brush and it kind of cleared up and he heard something maybe 100 yards away, and then a big brown bear comes walking out, just looking at him. He said his butthole puckered up. He was like, "Nope, not doing this."
It's an interesting experience when you run into bears. I mean, they're so different and they're fun to watch. I've had a lot of opportunities watching them, and I've stalked a few bears with my camera just to get videos, and they're neat. I've never hunted them, but I'd love to hunt them someday. I just never give myself the time for it.
Yeah, there's bear management zones in New Mexico. So like every year we can get a bear tag. Pretty much when it starts. Does it start with elk season in September, Gavin?
Yeah,
So like pretty much from September to a certain date or quota, that zone's open for bear hunting. There's an archery season and then it opens up to any weapon, I think. And then there's also limited draw bear hunts, and I think those are up north towards the Colorado border. And those are spring bear hunts. And so there's a lot of bear hunting here. There's quite a bit of hunting here in general, like things you couldn't think of. Like you'd be like, really, like in New Mexico? So and there's more than one national forest, but um, I don't know. I just always am drawn to the Gila too, and I don't really. I've been to the other ones quite a bit, but I don't ever put in for hunts that way.
So just the Gila is like a special place.
The
Like you
Gila
know,
is the
so
home. It's the heart of New Mexico, so that's where I go.
oh, well, and it's your name, so you almost have to rep it.
oh
Yeah,
yeah.
we kind of be a little disloyal if we went anywhere else.
Yeah, it might
Yeah,
get
maybe our
offended.
luck would start running out.
Yeah. So um, what's what's the closest you've been to a bull elk? Because I know I forget what podcast I was listening to, but they're talking about they were hunting with Cam Haines, and he said he had a bull elk like scream bugling in his face probably from like 5 yards away or something like that. I was like, I don't even
Yeah.
think I'd be able to draw back my bow. I'd just be shaking.
Yeah. I mean, we've called like I guess this October. I mean, we were on a elk hunt with Gavin's little brother and his brother-in-law, and we called in a bull at like 38 yards and got him down first elk ever. He's in eighth grade, I'm pretty sure, and that was a really cool hunt. The closest encounter though, I mean, I reached out and grabbed the bull's horns before coming in.
Dang.
Yeah.
Did he get mad, or was he just like,
He
what?
freaked out. It was like a younger bull, so like not crazy big bull, but it was funny because it's not like I was like in brush or like in a tree. I was waking up from a midday nap. I bugled and then literally took maybe 10 steps. He was bedded close to me nearby. He came running in. I was caught out in the open, and he kind of just was walking straight to me. And like I could tell he knew something was in the area because his nose was like rolling up to his eyeballs. Like he was really trying to smell, but he was so young he didn't really know anything better. And so I reached out and I literally slapped his horns pretty much, and he just kind of turned around and ran 10 yards away and was like, "What was that? Like what the heck?" So QU does work, I guess.
Yeah.
I was wearing Verde and he didn't see me at all or smell me. So
That's crazy.
I've
yeah.
had a few close ones. My first bull I actually ever killed with, well, it was the only bull I've killed was with my bow. And I'd hunted about 13 days. And on the 13th day, I finally got on one and I stalked him to 13 yards and I shot him at 13 yards. But earlier on that hunt, I was on a 5x5 and we called him in and he was probably 10 to 15 yards in front of me. I never got a chance to range him, but he screamed right into my face and I could feel his spit hitting me in the face when he was bugling. He was that close and it was like vibrating my chest. It was the craziest experience I've ever had.
Holy
Yeah.
smokes.
It's like Jurassic Park out there, like in September, and I guess it depends on the season. You know, we have our wet years, we have our dry years, and the heat has a huge play in it too. Like this year, we were still in bugling bowls in the Gila, but you could tell they didn't really want to play yet, and that was our earlier hunt. In my opinion, everyone really hypes up, September archery rut. But that's like true, like, West, Northwest kind of states. I think New Mexico's unique in a way where I think the rut is slightly delayed, just like for deer as well. Like our deer rut is honestly, I mean, I believe it's in January. I've seen it in January, but maybe certain parts of New Mexico is a little bit different for deer. And that's the same thing with elk. I mean, we're in bugling bulls in October here, and peak rut bugling bulls. Comparing it to a September where we maybe get on a bull here or there, versus in October where it's like holy crap, like we are in them, like we're done for. They're gonna run us over.
That kind of reminds me that, so I'm an EMT and a firefighter, so I was on the call the other day. I don't get too far into it, but I'm talking to this guy, and he's like, yeah, I had a crazy experience. I was like, what's that? He was like, so motorcycles are big here in South Dakota. Like Sturgis, South Dakota, where the rally is right up the road from the house. And
Okay.
he was riding his motorcycle through the Black Hills, hitting elk, like a big bull elk, I guess. Instead of
God,
running away, the elk turns around and starts stomping him, broke all of his ribs, crushed his face, and he has like titanium and shit. I was like, holy smokes. Like, yeah, bad luck, dude.
Gosh, dang.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. That's a big animal to be like, let alone like hitting your ribs, boy. That's just salt in the wound to hit your face. And I was like, geez. And he said he
yeah,
woke up in the hospital. I was like, I couldn't imagine.
Oh, and when they're all amped up, I mean, they're in survival mode. They're going to do whatever they have to do. I mean, you see all these videos of these people on TikTok, walking up to these elk when they're screaming in, mountain towns and stuff like that. And me as a hunter, I'm just like, you guys have no idea what you're doing. That bull is in fight or flight mode right now.
Y'all have
yeah,
a buffalo out there?
Yes. Actually, we have some buffalo in southern New Mexico. Whenever they built the border, they there was a rancher that kind of trapped them on our side of the border. And so they're on his ranch, and there's a good herd of buffalo down there. And actually, one of my clients for work, I get to see them quite often, and they do pretty well for being in the desert. And then there are a few other private ranches in New Mexico that raise buffaloes and allow you to hunt them. So there are some hunting opportunities. It's just all private land.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a big problem. It's like Western South Dakota, Black Hills, kind of a big touristy area. And like anywhere you go, they're selling shirts and stuff that say "Don't pet the fluffy cows" because these tourists, they'll come from who knows where, and they'll try to like get out and walk up to these things and get gouged or thrown. And it's like, how stupid are you?
Oh, that's a big animal right there.
Yeah, I don't. They'll like in the wintertime, they'll come up. There'll be a herd of them in the road, and they like licking the salt off of the cars.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have like 10, 15 buffalo like just around your car licking it, and then they'll get mad and start like hitting the car and rocking it and stuff. It's pretty cool, but it's sketchy.
Yeah.
We moved out here from Virginia, and we have a beagle, and she was in the back seat, and the buffalo were licking the car, and she got pissed and just started like bellowing that loud beagle howl. And it was like getting the buffalo kind of wired. So like they started like headbutting each other, and then they look over and they saw the car, and like one of them ran into the side of the car, scratched the shit out of it. I was like, I don't like this.
Oh, that's a big animal. I mean, that's something that I wouldn't want to be close to. That's for sure. I mean, holy cow, they are big.
Yeah, they definitely. I think they're like 2,000 pounds around there, north or south, but that's crazy. So, do you have a lot of snakes down there?
Yeah, we do. Our biggest one's just the rattlesnake. We typically don't run into them too much. I mean, they're around and you got to watch out for them. But I mean, as long as you're avoiding holes and stuff like that, you can typically avoid them. The worst times to run into them is going to be your August antelope hunts, all your September hunts, and then if it's warm like it is this year, you're going to see them in October. But last year we were elk hunting in September, and we walked up on a 6-foot timber rattler in the Gila, so that was interesting. So they're there, but typically you can avoid them pretty good.
That's terrifying. We just have prairie rattlesnakes out here, and they're only like big ones only get like 2.5, 3 feet. So
yeah, the big ones are nice because you can avoid them. I mean, they're easy to spot. Those small ones, I don't know about the small ones. You can lose them pretty quick.
Yeah, especially if they're coiled up next to a tree or something. We went on a call, and there's a guy at work. He called us because we have to catch the rattlesnakes, and it was his kids were running around a tree, just running circles, and they're like, "Hey, Dad, it's a snake." And he's like, "What kind of snake?" They're little guys, and they're like, "Oh, I think it's a garter snake." And he walked over, it's a rattlesnake coiled up, and he was like, "Get in the house." Oh man.
The worst ones are the ones that don't rattle at all, but they're still rattlesnakes. Like there's some in New Mexico that they don't even care and they won't rattle at you and warn you at all. They'll bite you. So those are the ones that we need to be careful for. But like Gavin said, you avoid heavily rocky areas, but you should be fine. And just know they're out during September. August, September is their most active probably.
Okay. So if y'all had to give like your craziest hunting story for the podcast, what would it be?
Ooh, we got what do you think, Nick, the September story?
I think you tell your craziest hunting story. I don't know. I kind of cause issues any hunt I go on.
Yeah, Nick's the kind of guy that always forgets something important when we go hunting. But he makes up for it because he hunts hard, so it's all right. But we were hunting elk in September this year in the Gila Wilderness, and it's a brutal place if you've never gone to it before. I mean, we're talking very high elevation, up to 10,500 feet. There's lots of burns, very thick, deep canyons, and my dad and my uncle and my cousin all drew that tag this year. And so my uncle decided he was going to get some mules. and they were going to go take those into the backcountry and backpack in. And we did a lot of scouting in the summer. I mean, we probably did over 120 miles of scouting, boots on the ground in the summer. Found us a nice camp spot and got ourselves set up. So when the hunt came around, we decided we're going to take the meals and pack everybody else in. And my uncle was recovering from pneumonia, and he thought he was good to go. So he rode one of the mules back there, and the rest of us carried everything else and put the rest on the mule. Well, we got back into camp, and my uncle went to go hunt the first morning, and I don't even think he made it a mile from camp. He was coughing up a lung, had to walk back to camp, and just was not doing good. And we were kind of split up because we had so many tags. So my cousin decided that he was going to load up the mules with all the stuff, get him out of there so that he could drive home and walk all the way back in. So he did like 30 miles in a day with loaded equipment. And so he was dead tired. We decided to hunt the rest of Labor Day weekend. And the activity wasn't really good. So we decided that we were going to head out, let everyone have a break, and then head back in for the last week of the hunt. Well, on the way out, we decided we were going to walk the mules and no one was going to ride. But you had to come out of this deep, nasty canyon to get back to the trailhead. And so my dad said that he wanted to ride the mule. And so he got on the mule, said he was going to ride it to the top and then get off. So we rode up to the top. Everything was going good. And then he said, well, I'm just going to stay on it till we get back to the truck. Well, not even 500 yards from when we got to the top, I was walking in front of him leading the other mule, and I just hear a crash. And I tensed up because I'm thinking I'm going to get ran over by a mule. And the one behind me, his back is about to the top of my head. I mean, it's a big mule. And so I turn around, my dad's on the ground, the mule's kicking, bucking, running everywhere. Nick was 100 yards in front of us filming. Another guy was behind us, he was kind of lagging. And I look at my dad and I just see blood all over his shirt. And so I was like, oh no, here we go. And thankfully I had a Garmin in reach, so if something happened, we would have been okay. But what happened is he got thrown over the top of the mule. He hit his head, his shoulder, and his hip. And when he landed, he got punctured in the side by a tree limb because there was a fire just a couple months prior. And so he was bleeding really bad. We bandaged him up the best we could, and we had to walk a mile out of there. And we kept having to rebandage him every hour or so. I mean, we get to the truck, and it's still a 4-hour drive back home and a 3-hour drive to the nearest hospital. And so we just kept bandaging him up, giving him some meds. He had a beer when we got to the truck, and he got back to Cruces, and he messed up his shoulder pretty good. I'm thinking that he separated it. He's too stubborn to go get it looked at by a professional, and he had to get stitches, but he waited too long, so they had to glue him up. But he was banged up for probably a month after that hunt.
God. So he was like, when he got punctured, like, did it hit anything important, or was it just?
Thankfully, no. I mean, it only went probably an inch, inch and a half deep. But it was, I mean, right where his kidney should be. So if it would have gone any deeper, we would have been in a pretty bad hole.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. It's just scary because like you're out there and it's you and the guy next to you. Like it's literally like you're in the wilderness. This is the roughest part of the roughest part of New Mexico. It's one of the roughest parts of the country, honestly, in my opinion. Thankfully, like we were, as close as we were probably like Gavin said, a mile from the trailhead. We had already climbed out of the canyon, so where it happened is probably the best spot it could have happened. Other than if it would have happened 500 yards more, that was like super, super rocky, so it probably would have been lower. But yeah, no, definitely crazy. The best part of that story is that he slept in the recliner that night, and he woke up And he was like, "Oh man, like this thing's still bleeding," and he still wouldn't go to the doctor, and so he patched it up again. And they ended up moving the chair that he slept in, the recliner, and they found like a pool of blood underneath the recliner because it had been bleeding so bad.
Jeez.
Yeah, and they didn't even know. They moved the recliner like a week later, and were like, "What is that?" And it was his blood from the week prior. So it got scary real quick, but maybe not like a fun, crazy story. But yeah, I think it's crazy injury kind of deal. Yeah,
And it just goes to show anything can happen out there. It's
yeah. I think the
definitely
main thing is like
unforgiving.
if we do meals again, it's hard to do that if they're not from the area. And I mean, they pick up one whiff of something they're not used to, and a mule, a horse, or anything, any animal is gonna go fight or flight, and half the time it's fight, like go. So, um, anyway, yeah, no, it's a crazy story. A heart sunk in my stomach, like, oh man, it was bad.
I can imagine. Have y'all seen that guy on Instagram? And I think he's on YouTube too. I think his name's Stealthy Hunter, and he uses all the goats.
Yep.
Yeah, he has like a pack of goats, and he just loads them up, and they just follow him in a line. I was like, that's so cool.
It's
Because goats
Yeah,
safe.
are,
It's the safest option. I mean, a mule is something that it's hard to deal with. I mean, we had them back there at camp, and they'll pull you around. They'll go where they want to go. I mean, I have a video of Nick on a trail camera getting drug around by the mules when he took them to water one day. But I mean, we're trying to look into maybe switching to llamas. Some pack goats would be awesome. Just something easier to handle that you don't got to worry about, someone getting hurt out there, because that's the last thing that you want when you're 10 miles deep from the trailhead.
I worked at a horse ranch part time, and we had it was like a mule horse cross, and we could not get that thing saddle broken. She was a mean lady. You get on her, and
yeah,
she just started kicking, and I was like, jeez. They ended
Oh,
up
they're
getting
stubborn animals. They do what they want to do. I mean,
yeah,
we took these same mules on the October hunt for my brother's hunt because we got an elk about 5 miles deep. And that same mule that bucked my dad, we had to take it back because it just wasn't cooperating. And then we got the other one to the kill site, and it would not let us load him up with meat. He just wasn't having it. So we ended up having to carry it out ourselves. It's just something that they're nice to have when they work good, but if they don't, gosh dang, it slows you down big time.
they ever just lock up like I'm not going.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I had to drag one with all my weight because it did not want to go. And I mean, they'll break and they'll go with you, but when you're just trying to get somewhere and then you got to try to pull this heavy animal and you're tired, it's not fun.
Jeez. Well, dang. Guess we're getting close on time here. I know it's getting kind of late. Once again, I apologize for that.
No,
Um,
you're okay.
so what do you guys shoot for archery? Matthews, Bowtech, Hoyt? What's your go-to?
I'm a big Matthews guy. That's just I don't know. My dad got me a Matthews Genesis when I was little, and then whenever I got back into archery hunting because of Gavin, I was kind of desperately looking for a bow fast, just to get back into it affordably. So I found a used bow, a Halon 6, so another Matthews, and then just this past December, I had gotten the V3X, and so I'm gonna keep using Matthews. I'll probably have this Matthews for a long time. But I haven't really knocked some of the new Hoyts. Some of the new Hoyts are pretty impressive, weight wise. I know Matthews just came out with a new bow lift. It's pretty light. I mean, I was in the bow shop the last 2 weeks, and it's a good bow. I haven't shot it yet, but I think they're trying to make some changes because I think they realized that Hoyt was making a pretty good bow, and PSE the same way. I mean, there's a lot of good bows on the market today, and it's kind of just brand loyalty or preference at that point.
Mm, how about you guys?
Well, I'm a Matthews guy by heart. My first bow was Matthews when I was probably 10, 12 years old. And I got my first bull with the Matthews Monster. And then I upgraded to the Matthews V3, which I'm still shooting today, shooting indoor league, 3D, American League, stuff like that. And I've shot the newer bows, the Phase 4 from last year, and I actually shot the Lift recently, and they're amazing. But the way that I am, I gotta get something with my bow before I upgrade. So hopefully in January I'll be able to upgrade my bow.
Obviously, yeah. What do they say? Every 3 or 4 years, you're supposed to upgrade to be um, with the times or whatever, the newest
Yeah.
technology. Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy to me. They're so expensive.
Oh, I know. I mean, that new Hoyt bow is like $2,000. It's like, goodness gracious, that's a lot of money for hunts right there.
Mhm. When you factor in all your other gear and stuff, like my wife, she didn't come from a hunting family, and once she saw how much I spent on hunting stuff, she's like, "Holy smokes!" But
Yeah, we're a bit of a gear junkies. We try to shop sales and try new stuff all the time. It's fun trying new stuff, and it's hard not to keep trying new stuff. But it's also nice to rely on the stuff you have. I guess I know. I think we're pretty brand loyal. Me and Gavin are pretty brand loyal on the stuff we trust, and Matthews is one of them. Now, would we ever try another bow? Probably. I mean, I don't know.
I'm sure if anyone from Matthews is listening to this, so Gila Monsters up.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, I appreciate y'all's time, and I hope to stay in contact with you guys in the future. I know archery tags here for gear are over the counter, and I think those open up. You can get them October 1st, so we'll have to try to plan something for next year.
Yeah, for sure. If you apply for some New Mexico hunts and you draw, definitely hit us up and we'll try to do the best we can to take you out there and try to get you on something. But for sure, I know I'm planning 100% to try to get out there to South Dakota next year. I think that'd be a blast.
Okay. Yeah, I'll probably hit you guys up because I wouldn't know what unit or anything to apply for. So
Yeah. We'll do some research, and then I'm pretty interested too. If it's mule deer, I'm in. I mean, come on.
yeah,
If you would have said elk, I probably would have been like, maybe next time.
I'll go. I'll hunt anything next year. We're gonna
Yeah.
finally start getting out of state, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah,
Good.
heck yeah. Check out Go Hunt. They have so much articles and other things, and that's a shout out to Go Hunt because they do a damn good job.
Yeah, I enjoy their videos. So it's really
Yeah.
good. But yeah, any closing thoughts from you guys, or
No, just appreciate you bringing us onto the podcast. It's awesome getting to communicate with other hunters, just making conversation and stuff like that. That's all it's about, and just spreading awareness. Getting hunters from South Dakota to realize what's there, and then hunters from other states realizing that New Mexico is an opportunity. Not trying to piss anyone off from New Mexico and ruin odds, but hunting's out there. You just got to find it, and telling stories and hearing from other people is the best way to do it.
Yeah, heck yeah. New Mexico is not just sand. We have great hunting and great people to hunt with. So, heck yeah.
I know I definitely learned some stuff about New Mexico. Just thought elk and mule deer. So
No,
sweet.
we just got a little bit more than that, but just a little bit.
Yeah, a lot of bears too. So watch
Yeah.
out for them.
No.
But
But yeah,
yeah,
heck yeah,
Jimmy.
thanks for having us on, and we really we're just guys that like to hunt and try to film some experiences. So, heck yeah.
Right on. Well, what you guys do is awesome, and I always enjoy watching the videos on your TikTok, or I went through YouTube. I like watching those. So I'll post the links up, get show you guys out, and get you out there, and we'll go from there. But like I said, it was a pleasure having you on, and great to meet you guys, and hope to plan some stuff in the future.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like a plan.
All righty. Well, y'all have a good night.
Nice.
Yeah,
Happy
you too.
holidays.
Yep. Happy holidays. Bye.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye.